This video and its contents are intended for a mature audience of adults 18 and over. I do not condone any illegal activities where this video is created simply for educational purposes and my opinion only. Viewer discretion is always advised. Welcome to my first look at auto-flowering plants. Now, I've seen these seeds around for a while, but really never gave them a try. I stayed with feminized seeds in a traditional manner, the 18 hours of light during the vegetative stage, 12 hours of light when I was ready to flower them, but I wanted to give these things a go. And I'm going to take you now on a 71-day journey from seedling to through the vegetative state to flowering, right up into harvesting, and actually smoking one of these dubs. Check this out. Alright, but before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Amsterdam Marijuana Seeds, where these people make the ordering process very easy and straightforward, with a customer service team like no other, where their most important aspect of this company is your overall satisfaction. Check them out. Log in today. You won't be sorry. And I guess this would be a good time to hit that subscribe button and that little bell so you'll be alerted as to just what's next to debunk as fact or fiction, or at least talk about a few videos with some relevance to explore in upcoming episodes of how to easily grow weed without all the hype. Imagine that. Now, before I start, one thing I know for sure is that there are hundreds and probably more like thousands of videos out here with tens of thousands of experts that just have their own way of growing, and based on them you should grow their way or no way at all. And I said, really? And why? Unbelievable. You know, most videos I've seen are just complete bullshit, while others make some valid points and a lot of sense, and just when you thought that this is a great video, they cruise into many extremes with top-end lighting, monster grow tents, pH testers, kits for just about everything, including a nutrient barrage, and links that point to everything on Amazon, where I hope these nitwits are making a few pennies for their efforts and referrals. But who knows? Not me. I really don't care. I know what works for me, and if this comes across as pissing in someone's cornflakes, then that's what it'll be. Crazy. So let's start that 71-day trip from seedling to flowering to harvest, which blew my mind, which I'm now thinking of having at least one, maybe even two of these autoflower plants growing alongside my traditional plants that I can harvest all year long, every 75 to 90 days. What a concept. So here we go. I took a 20-gallon aquarium, a basic Finex 24/7 aquarium sunrise to sunset plant light, an old computer fan that I rigged up to a plug for airflow, the auto seed, not germinated, planted it, watered the soil. 6 days later she sprouted, and by the following day was fully standing, which I'll call day 2. By day 8 she was moved to a donated 2x2x4 grow tent that a friend had no longer had any use for, utilizing the same computer fan that I placed on a container for height to continue airflow, and then brought back out a retired Bloom Spec LED light that I was using at one point for deep water aquarium plants. For this grow I used 14-hour lighting on a cheap timer. I found an old oscillating fan out in the garage I placed outside the grow tent to give even more airflow, and I did at one point purchase a small 6-inch clip-on fan that actually came in a pack of 2 I found on eBay for $9. I placed one of these fans on the top vent area as an exhaust to move the air in and out of the tent and remove small amounts of heat from the LED lights, which wasn't much at all. Well, by here the plant was really starting to take form, or show its personality as I call it. Moving along, and since this was a winter grow, I started my pepper plants in the grow tent. What a novel idea, and I had the space, but as you can see we're well on our way and moving right along. Fast forwarding here, I'm 30 days into this grow and I watched a few more expert videos that said to never top an autoflower plant. So guess what? Yep, I topped her, she recovered, and 6 days later she began to flower. For me, I'd rather be lucky than good and never be just another self-absorbed expert. Yeah, right.
It's out of control.
So here we are now at day 36, and the soil I used here was Miracle-Gro. And yes, another expert head just exploded. Anyway, I began to see the nutrients were depleting and did a 2-day water flush, and then went to my go-to fertilizer called Tiger Bloom that I also use in my other grows right into flowering, and this went on until the buds were really forming by the 63rd day. And on the 71st day, after another 2-day tap water flush and soil dry out, she was harvested and hung out to dry for 8 days in the grow tent with minimal airflow, same exhaust, and no lights. I would like to mention here that from day 55 up until day 71, I really started to watch the trichomes with a 30-time jeweler's loop, which began to change rather quickly with this type of plant, from clear to cloudy to the beginning of an amber color. In my experience, and to me, not an expert, I like a high THC rating of over 25% where possible, and would never again wait for the trichomes to reach an amber color of over 25% of the buds. So for me, I will always harvest at a 75-25% mix of cloudy and amber colored, wherever possible, for in my opinion, will contribute to a higher THC content. And here's my simple trade-off of yield versus high, where the plant could have gone maybe another week or two that would have increased the bud size and yield, but also with a THC rating being much lower. And this can be backed up by anyone who has ever taken the time to investigate trichome lab results at different stages during bud development for THC and CBD levels. These are interesting stats, so stat that.
I have no words. No, none.
But again, this has to be up to you, and not another finger pointer who will state that yield is more important than overall high. Well, I beg to differ here. Going back, and as for the Tiger Bloom I use, which is a concentrate that the directions state to use 1 teaspoon per gallon of water, but for me I have never used more than 1/4 of a teaspoon per gallon. But this is me, you be you. But this has always worked for me during my every other feeding runs with every plant that I've raised. Full strength of this product burned my plants, and it got to the point where the yields were smaller, the smoke was harsher, and I finally gave up and tossed the plants into the trash. So anyway, on day 79 I clipped the buds, which will be placed into mason jars, and I'm going to open and burp them for the next 5 days, turning the jars to move the buds around and leaving them open for an hour or so to continue the drying process. And then I'll move on to every other day for a half an hour for a few days, turning the buds, hoping that they'll finally dry out. One thing I will agree with here from all growers and farmers that I've met, experts or not, is that the curing and drying time you'll hear discussed is that you have to have patience in this process, where I notice for a fact from growing for many years now. So hang in there, take your time, and you'll get to sample the goods soon enough. So anyway, day 93 I rolled that doobie, which by the way the strain here was called Orange Crush. Nice flavor, great aroma, and a more than expected overall high.
Did that just happen?
So if you haven't already, and you want to try something different, try this strain, and we'll compare notes, which is another one of my opinions, that taking notes is a great practice in helping you keep track of things like watering, introduction to fertilizer, basically what works, what didn't, and how to minimize mistakes. Growing weed is a wonderful experience where this shit really isn't that hard. It's just made more complicated by every video you watch. Be a beginner, stay a beginner if you like, but just grow, have some fun, and enjoy the rewards.
And let's try to remember here. You don't need top of the line lights. You don't need big fans and expensive setups. You can do this all in a closet in a cardboard box. I did it inside of a box with 2 box fans and 2 light hoods, fluorescent light hoods that had 2 cool light bulbs and 2 daylight bulbs. Go figure. But that's how it worked out for me 25 years ago. And you just get better as you go with every grow. So have some fun out there, like I said before. Get baked, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.